Hey guys, welcome back to another lightsaber unboxing and review. This time we've got the brand new KR Sabers Graflex Gen 2. These are ones that he's recently released on his store as of I think April 2021, and they're a major improvement over the previous run of Graflex that he had. So I bagged myself one and thought I'd do a quick review and compare it to this, which is the Graflex shop. And this is a TGS Gen 2, which I've configured to A New Hope, and I have a video on that one already. Just to kind of compare the two and see what slight differences there might be. This is quite, the TGS Gen 2 is, I've already done a long video, covered it, but it's very similar to a vintage. I don't have a vintage, unfortunately. So I'm curious to see, you know, how the KR looks as well. So it comes in a very beautiful box. It says KR Sabers, thesaberarmy.com. These are still available in stock as of now. So if you want to grab one, head on over to the Saber Armory. There it is. Very nice box. Almost a velvety finish in here. Let's take it out. So the great thing about this one is it's already assembled. TGS, you get, you know, you have to put all of these parts together yourself, and believe me, it is not easy to put all these tiny little parts together. I mean, it can take a while and practice, and you need to be really careful not to scratch it. So thank you, Carl, for, you know, I mean, I'm sure he's got a team of people assembling these, but it's really nice of them to do that. It takes the hassle out of doing that yourself. So all you have to do really is just set up the lower bit. So let's start over here at the top. And the first thing I noticed, because I'd already opened this yesterday when I got it, was, I don't know if you can see it. It's actually a lot better now. So to be honest, but even here, if you see that light reflection, somewhere about here, it's slightly different, and that's because the finish here didn't quite match the finish there. And I emailed him, and, you know, to his credit, Carl answers his emails straight away, and he was more than happy to, you know, give me feedback and suggest solutions. And, you know, he basically explained that there's no way the finish could be different because this is all dipped into the plating thing in one. So it's not going to be like two shades. So there might just be some surface residue-ish. I don't know how these are made, but he said just go over it with a very fine Scotch-Brite pad. But you have to go very gently, and you go with the grain. So if you open it and there's any kind of blemishes or imperfections, or first of all, try to wipe it down with a little bit of alcohol. If that doesn't get rid of it, you know, try the Scotch-Brite thing, but be very gentle and just go in one direction like that with the grain. So that was the first thing I noticed, was that the finish here was slightly off. But you got, I mean, you have to appreciate, I mean, there's even a disclaimer on these, on his website that says, you know, it's hard to get these perfect and pristine, because it's just part of the manufacturing process. So, you know, if there's anything that you're really not happy with, just email him. I'm sure he'll be happy to help. Right, moving on. So let's start at the top here. This is the first thing that struck me, was the S curve, which is like that, the tip. I feel like this is a little bit more rounded than it should be on a vintage. Again, I wish I had a vintage comparable. I don't. but the Graflex Shop Graflex Gen 2 is a pretty good. Let's try to put them next to each other to show you what I mean exactly. So the KR is over here on the right hand side now, and that's the TGS. And it's just a little bit more domed or kind of rounded here. Let me see if I can just compare it to the TGS, which the tip of it is almost like it's cut straight. And that's how it should be. This is what a vintage Graflex should look like. It should be straight. So the tip of it, in essence, should be parallel to that square. So it should be straight, and obviously then it curves and forms the S. And that is the best S curve I've ever seen. And I've had a Romans, I've had now a KR, a TGS, I've had quite a few Graflex models, and the best S curve that I've seen, hands down, is the TGS Gen 2. This S curve is pretty good, much closer to others I've seen, but it isn't quite there. That's my opinion anyway. I could be wrong, but the cut of this, or the shape of the S curve, is slightly different. So on the left here is TGS, on the right is KR Sabers, and you can mostly see it from the top end there, where it's sort of a little bit more kind of rounded than it should be. But this is a very, very subtle thing, which does not take away from the overall beauty of this hilt. The machining is absolutely fantastic. It's the same sort of dull, nice machining finish here, just like on the TGS. Very, very good, both of them. Bunny ears are, let's compare the bunny ears. I don't see, slightly different shape maybe, or am I imagining it? I can't really tell. I think they're both good. I really can't tell. Yeah, I can't really tell any difference between the two. Red button. Okay, so TGS. The Gen 2 button is the closest thing we have again to a vintage in terms of the color, the knurling, the lip. KR, let's have a look. The shape of the bezel is good. Honestly, guys, it's the same. I love it. It's maybe just a tad darker. Yeah, it's almost more brownish or a bit more maroon than the TGS. That's a KR again over here. That's a TGS. But it may be a trick of the light or my eyes. I don't know, but otherwise it's absolutely perfect. And the bezel is just right too. Both of them are a little too shiny compared to a vintage. Beer tabs are fine. Both of them are the same, the dull finish. The rivet here looks the same to me. Slide switch. Let's turn this over. Again, it should be a dull finish on the like the plate of the slide switch, and the screw on top should be more shiny, which is accurate, and that's the same on both. Pins. I think the previous KRs used to have the standard stepped pin, and now he's gone for the smooth, like the more kind of vintage shape, which is a really nice touch. It looks similar to that. Yeah, no, pretty great. So far, no complaints whatsoever. Glass eye. I can't compare this because this is a different model glass eye. This is a Fulmer. You can see it has a very kind of sharp incline, and this is an ink, which has a more fat lip over here and a little bit narrower. But as far as an ink glass eye goes, I think that looks spot on. The socket here with the bulb contact is fine. Nothing. I haven't taken this apart yet to kind of examine it from the inside, but I'm sure it's fine. Yeah, so the top portion of the KR Sabers, almost perfect. Maybe take off a half a point for the exaggerated curve of the S curve, but otherwise it's just perfect. Moving on down towards the clamp. All right, so we'll start with the stamping. As you can see on the, if you draw a line from here, it should pretty much line up with that side of the G and run down. Let's see if it's the same on the KR Graflex. So imagine a line running down from here. Yeah, I would say yes. Maybe a half a millimeter off, but it's pretty much accurate. The stamping is really good. It's not laser engraved or anything like that. It's embossed. The shape of the letters, the A, a lot of people used to get that wrong. Same as here. Again, the X should line up. So let's do that first on the TGS for reference. So you run a line down. From here, it should just meet the two ends of the X and then run further down to the other one. Let's compare on the KR Saber. No, here that is different. So if you do a line from here, it's definitely gonna cut through the X. So it's almost like the X is pushed slightly towards the right. I don't know if you could see that. If I run my fingernail straight up from the X, it's going to come through the square and not over here. I mean, we are talking about millimeters, so these are nitpicks and not, you know, major kind of mistakes or anything like that. But again, I have to give the edge to the TGS clamp over the KR clamp just because of that. The bars are, let's have a look. Yeah, those are absolutely perfect. That's how the bar should look from the bottom. It should kind of curve down. Really nice finish too. The lever looks sweet. I think I prefer this lever to my TGS lever. It should be a bit rounded at the tip and not sharp. And it should be, it has a really nice kind of curve to it. There shouldn't be any like angles like you see on the 89 Sabers and other kind of cheaper levers. That's a really good lever. Let's look at the TGS lever in comparison. It's too shiny, first of all. That's wrong. It shouldn't be this shiny. And yeah, you could see here it's a little bit more angular. And also that tip is almost a little bit square. Let's see if I can put them side by side to do a direct comparison. So check this out. I mean, TGS is here in my right hand. It's much more chrome, much more shiny, and it has a sharp kind of step over here, whereas the KR just is more rounded and smooth. So this is not accurate at all, and I intend to change that. And also the tip. So as you can see, the tip is much more rounded on the KR, which is more accurate. Again, TGS is on my right there. KR is on the left. So yeah, for this one, I will, the KR is a clear winner in terms of the clamp lever. But in terms of the stamping, I would definitely give the edge to TGS. The bottom tube, they're the same. There's clearly nothing on this. I mean, it's only the stamping here, which is the same. I think, actually no, this one is ink. It says manufactured by Graflex Inc. and it has a patent number. And I think that one is a Fulmer, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, you can see here it says Fulmer, which, I mean, they're both correct. They're just slightly different models and generation of the Graflex camera. So there's no right or wrong here. So altogether, I think that TGS Gen 2 is, if we say a vintage is a 10, although I hate doing these scores, but you know, if you wanted something closer to a vintage, I would say that TGS Gen 2 is maybe a 9 out of 10. Main issues are the lever, which I believe he's correcting in his new run, which is coming soon, hopefully. There are a few other minor issues with it, but it's not perfect, but it's very, very good. It's the best I can find so far from in terms of like the S curve and the red button and all of that. The TGS Gen 2 is, I would say, a 9 out of 10 at least. KR Sabers, I'm very impressed with it, very happy with it. It looks amazing. Slight issues I had, but that just may have been my luck with the finish here. But in terms of, you know, structure, quality, it's been put together. The lever is more accurate. Have to knock off a little bit for the stamping on the clamp. Also not a fan of the S-curve over here, so I would say 8.5 out of 10 for me for the KR Sabers, but still a very solid choice. Really, a lot of this comes down to whether you live in Europe or in the States. If you live in Europe or the UK, I would go with KR Sabers because, you know, obviously of shipping costs and handling fees and customs and speed of delivery and also customer services. KR is absolutely fantastic. If you live in the States and you don't mind waiting a bit because these are out of stock and we don't know when the new run will happen with TGS, so, you know, you could go with TGS. So yeah, between those two, those are my thoughts. If you have any questions or comments, leave a comment down below and I'll try to help you as much as I can. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.